Hello, I'm Daryl, and this is my how-to video on creating a functioning dashboard originating with raw data and using pivot tables to do that. Now, this right here is my functioning dashboard, and I can compare. This is fantasy football stats, so I could compare football teams and visualize their performance throughout within one given year or one given season. Now, to do this, originating with raw data, I will begin by selecting my data worksheet. Now, once I'm in my data worksheet, I will select a cell within my data worksheet, and above I will select the Insert tab. Now, under the tables grouping, you will see Pivot Table, and I would select Pivot Table. Now a window will appear to create a pivot table. Now I want to place this pivot table I'm creating under a new worksheet. So I would select new worksheet and click OK. Now that my new worksheet is appeared, I can now filter and place my data however I desire. And to do this, I will first begin by wanting to compare my offensive players, because I am looking for the top performers. And I'm going to start by comparing my rushing yards. So to do that, I would begin by moving I want my teams in a row, so I would move my teams under the rows. And now I have all my teams in one row. Now again, like I said, I am going to be comparing my rushing yards, so I will select my rush attempts and put that under the values section, and I'm going to compare my rush attempts to the actual yards gained on those attempts, so I would also place the rush yards under the value section. And now I have all the data I need for this pivot table to compare rushing yard performance. Now I would also want to see the top performers, so I will sort this from largest to smallest by right clicking and go to sort, and sort from largest to smallest. Select that, and now as you can see, you have Dallas, who are the top performers with 842 rushing yards for this season. Again, this is fantasy football, this is not real football. So to create your dashboard via these pivot tables, now that the pivot table was able to allow me to organize the actual data I need, I will first start by creating a chart to visualize the data. So I will click a cell within the data in my pivot table, and it's a good idea to rename either sheets pivot table so you know what it is. So you get your pivot table, and I'm going to call it pivot table 1 because I will be needing several, because I will be comparing several pairs of stats. Now to create your chart, you will select anywhere within the actual data, and then above you will see under the tools grouping the pivot chart option. Select that, and then we will select a chart. So I will select the first one, which is the clustered column. Click OK. Now I have all my data visualized. Now to make this a little more easier to visualize, I would give it a different style to give it more of a pop, so you can see the data more clearly. So I would give it a black background, and there we go. And I gave it a black background, and I'm gonna clean all these labels off this chart by right clicking and hiding all the field buttons on the chart, and now it's a little more cleaner. Now to filter out through this particular data within the pivot table easier, I will need a slicer. Now a slicer will let me select individual teams I want to look at as opposed to everyone. So to do that, I would again select the chart, go under the Analyze tab. On the left, under the filter grouping, you will see Insert Slicer to the left. I would select that, and then since I want to filter this out through teams, if I want to see teams, I will select team and then select OK. And now I have an actual slicer. Now this slicer allows me to filter out this particular data and visualize who I would like to visualize and compare teams who I want to compare with. So to do that, I could just control select a team and hold control. Select the team, and if I want to compare it to another team, I could just hold control and select another team. And if I want to compare with a third team, I just again hold control, select the third team. And this allows me to compare teams and their performance. Now, since we're doing a dashboard, I will have several of these charts and slicers, and they were going to all be having a reported connection within each other. So I will be able to just simply click and learn about several different stats about the individual teams and players. So to do that, first I will, on the dash, I will move my chart and my slicers to the actual dashboard sheet by just simply cutting them out and pasting them there. So Control X, dashboard window, dashboard sheet, cell A1, Control V, back to my pivot table, and I will also take this slicer, Control X, and then I'll just place it onto my dashboard off to the side. Close this, put it right here off to the side, Control V. Now I will repeat this for different types of stats. Now this particular chart I will label rushing because this is all rushing stats. So I will under the chart, I would hit this chart elements key and select chart title. I will label it rushing. Sorry. Rushing. Enter, escape. Now I will repeat this process for several other stats. So for example, I would again go to my raw data sheet, and this time I will want to again select any cell within the data sheet, go to the Insert tab, Pivot Table, New Worksheet, OK. Now this time I want to have again my teams on the side, and I'm going to compare passing yards. So to do that, I will just scroll down and look for my passing yards or receiving yards. So I have receptions right here, the actual receptions, and the yards on those receptions. And again, I have receptions and the yards that's gained on those receptions. And again, I will sort this from largest to smallest. Creates a pivot chart. Give the pivot chart some color, easy to distinguish. Give it a slicer. Analyze tab, filter grouping, slicer. And again, you want it under teams, but now that I already have one under teams, I don't need this because we have the relationship option. So what I could do is I can just simply select this, cut it out, put it on the dashboard, place it right next to our previous rushing chart, paste it, clean it up, once you clean it up, you will connect these two charts to this one slicer by giving it a reported connection. So under the option, under the option tab, you would to the left under the slicer grouping, click report connection, select the other pivot table, click OK, and now both pivot tables and both charts have a relationship, and you can compare both rushing, and these are your passing yards, within any given team. And that's how you create a dashboard, by simply repeating this process and adding additional stats as you wish. Once again, my name is Daryl, and this is my how-to video. Thank you.